Hey everyone, this is Harlan Kilstein, and today I want to talk to you about cooking keto. Now, a lot of people, when they come into keto, by the way, I'm wearing the headgear because they're working in my house, and I want to make sure you avoid hearing any smashes, crashes, or whatever. Um, a lot of people think that, like, oh my God, there's nothing to make. And the truth of the matter is that we're going to divide keto foods into two groups: that which remains the same and that which is different. And you're going to discover that that which remains the same is a much, much larger group. If you're going to make eggs, you're pretty much going to make eggs the same way you always made them. Fish, the only difference with fish, meat, or chicken is what you are covering them with. If you make fried fish and you dusted it with breadcrumbs, or you did fried chicken and you dipped it in flour and egg before deep frying it, those are going to change. But if you're broiling a piece of fish, if you're barbecuing a piece of meat, again, it's just what you put on top of it that involves change. The rest is the same. You know that you can go into any restaurant in the world and ask them for a plain grilled steak and they can put spices on top and you'll be fine. Okay, it's a universal. You can ask for a piece of steak, a piece of chicken, or a piece of fish to be broiled and you won't have a problem. You can go into any place in the world and have people make you scrambled eggs. Make sure that they don't add anything to the eggs. Rumor has it that there are some restaurants where they do. I don't know how true it is. But the bottom line is you look into these things and you won't have a problem. The issues are when they want to put something on top of it. I remember I had just started keto. I was in California. I went to a fancy restaurant and I ordered ribs. Ribs to me were dry ribs. It didn't even occur to me that the ribs were going to come out slathered in a sweet sauce. I just stared at the ribs and called the waiter over and said, "Look, I can't have this. It doesn't say anything about sauce on the menu. It talks about how long that they are smoked. They don't get smoked with the sauce on it. The sauce would burn." He said, "Would you like me to bring you ribs without the sauce?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And I had a really nice dinner. But again, it's the things that they put on top that are going to be the problem. So you can pretty much go into any restaurant in the world and find something to eat. And you can cook things. So all of your recipes that you had for fish, meat, or chicken, as long as it's just plain, okay, you can make any roast in the world. It'll be delicious. Put some spices on top. They're not a significant source of carbs. So what's different? Veggies. Popular veggies are typically a source of carbs. One of the biggest shocks to me was the amount of carbs in broccoli and cauliflower. Of course, there's fiber too, so if you're doing net carbs, you're okay, but you got to track everything. And then, of course, there's certain foods that we just say straight out are not keto because their carb level is so high and the way they respond to your body. So foods like potatoes, of course, and all the potato variations, they're gone. Foods like sweet potato, also not allowed. But there are some where, if you're really careful about your counting, you can enjoy lots and lots of different vegetables. Being a spinach and asparagus fan, I never have a problem of what to order. being a person who likes salads with all kinds of interesting salads, I never have a problem of finding something to order. And I found that if you go someplace, people will go out of their way to accommodate you. The things that you really want to be careful for in cooking and making shifts is our use of grains. Of course, grains implies the big ones: wheat, oats, rye, spelt, but also the lesser ones, corn. Um, these are barley. These grains, going down to many others, and starches like tapioca, they are so high glycemic, they will definitely throw you out of keto. So you need to learn to substitute. The biggest substitutions to master are almond flour and coconut flour. If you, in fact, are allergic to nuts, then you're just down to coconut flour. So first of all, the secret is that almond flour and coconut flour do not substitute one for flour in a regular recipe. Yes, if you want to make chicken or you want to make fish and you want to coat it with something, you can just throw on some egg and almond flour or even coconut flour, and that will work fine. But if you want to bake, it becomes a much more precise thing. And if you're not following a recipe, then it could become some trial and error. Typically, when you make a dough, you want to see it start holding together. If it's liquidy, it's not ready. Almond flour and coconut flour are entirely different creatures, and they mix up entirely different. Coconut flour is much more absorbent of liquid than almond flour is. It soaks it up. So you need to use less coconut flour than almond flour. There isn't an exact substitution, but if you're following a recipe or you practice, you'll get there. When it comes to sweeteners, of course, all of the varied forms of sugar are out. But the industry today has so many forms of sweetener that it's relatively easy to make them. So, in go-to order, I find that xylitol and sugar, or xylitol and erythritol or swerve, are a nearly one-for-one substitute, just across the board. Lakanto, their Lakanto Golden is a good substitute for brown sugar. In my Cookie Monster cookies, it's actually I've kind of replicated the Toll House recipe, and that old Toll House recipe calls for both sugar and brown sugar. So we substitute xylitol or swerve and Lakanto Golden for that other flavor. People say, do I need to use the flavor? Well, it's not going to come out the same. Those cookies, when you make them, are just a perfect copy of the originals. A little flakier, perhaps, but they work just as well. So those are the areas that are different. And of course, desserts. Once you make my cheesecake, you'll never lack for anything else. And then adding your own variations really makes it work out nicely as well. So my dog is playing underneath my chair, trying to get my attention. He hates when I talk into the computer and ignore him. So right now he's not a happy camper. You see that every day we come up with new recipes. And the bottom line is we can pretty much adapt things. We've done entire Thanksgiving dinners, replicating virtually everything served at the table even to a mock sweet potato casserole, which tastes pretty darn good. So it's a lot of creativity. If you do have requests, go ahead and submit them in the group, and I'll be very, very happy to try and replicate them for you.